Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Connie Pheiff, founder and CEO of Talent Concierge, and you are here listening to the Conquer Your Entrepreneurial Dreams Summit. And we have our next guest speaker coming up. Phenomenal guy. You probably know already who he is without even me giving his introduction. But he is Sensei Ron Thomas. He is one of the world's leading personal development trainers and life mastery experts. He's an inspirational speaker, a self-help author, life coach, and world martial art champion. Ron is also an internationally recognized actor, and fans around the globe know Ron for his starring role as Bobby Brown in The Karate Kid, one of his most iconic movies of all time. And he continues that role today, appearing on the hit TV series Cobra Kai. The show has received a 100% rating by Rotten Tomatoes and is most searched on the TV show and Google, and it streams live on Netflix. So Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You truly do have a remarkable background with everything that you do. I mean, the mastery that you bring not only to the screen, but the mastery that you bring to the clients and that you work with as a coach as well. Why don't you share just a little bit about what you do with our community?
Well, this goes way back to before I was an actor, before I was a martial artist. I was a competitive swimmer. And at 3 years old, I was announced as the youngest competitive swimmer in the world in my first swim meet. Now, and I don't know if that was true, but that's what came through the microphone. And from that point, I started to train harder, and I started to win races, and I was kind of a natural swimmer. And at some point in that evolution, I understood that mindset was everything, and if I was in the proper mindset, if I could get myself focused, I knew this from a very early age that I was going to start to win races. And when I wasn't, I didn't, and so, and that just expanded because I've always been athletic. I've always been in that competitive environment, whether it be competitive golf or snow skiing. I grew up in Reno, Nevada. And of course, swimming, and then martial arts. And then I got involved with the martial arts, and that took it even to a more expanded universe, a more expanded consciousness, because martial arts is about mind and body and spirit. And I heard a lot of talk about integrity on your show here and on this summit, and mind, body, spirit, wholeness. Wholeness is where integrity comes from. That word means wholeness. And when we're not in integrity, we're not whole. We're not acting from our expanded self or our whole self. And there's a part of us that knows it. And when a part of us knows it, then other people know it too. So the martial arts is one of those institutions that teach life skills like integrity, like focus, like respect, like confidence and self-esteem. And it's sort of, it's part of the curriculum. It's not by accident, because it's a mind, body, spirit type of training where you're training each of those components to make the whole person, or to be in integrity. And so then I got to a point where, there's a lot of people out there that want to learn these life skills, what we're talking about right here, and could use them in business or in competitive sports, or just being a parent, or just in life in general. But they don't want to go into a dojo and get their nose broken, So that's when I started to expand it out and take everything I've learned in that world and even get some additional training, and then take it out to a broader audience. And, and it really boils down to life mastery and business mastery in this case, right? And they're not separate. You're not going to be a business master if you haven't mastered yourself to some degree. So,
that's really good advice. Mastering yourself, because people come into the world of entrepreneurism for a lot of different reasons.
Yes.
And whether they just went down that path early on in their life, or like me, I lost my corporate position and shifted to, to this path. Or the last couple of years, people through COVID are saying, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I want my own business. I want to step into the entrepreneurial space of
Yeah.
owning my own business. What are some of you, and you've pretty much gone down the path of being an entrepreneur most of your life.
Yeah, I started out in Hollywood, pursuing my dreams as an actor, but Hollywood has different ideas sometimes. And I was blessed to be part of one of the most iconic movies in history. We're still talking about it 35 years later. It's a hit show on Netflix, #1 show in the world, Cobra Kai. But I wanted other roles, and there was roles I came very, very close to getting in major films that you would know the names of, but I didn't get them. Somebody else got them for whatever reason. And I decided at some point that I can't let Hollywood dictate my lifestyle and my future, the lifestyle that I want. So yeah, I had to become an entrepreneur by default. It's not, I didn't really set out intending to be an entrepreneur.
But even as an actor, though, it's still considered an entrepreneur because you're still out. You're still looking for your next gig. This is still your business.
Yeah, but so much of it is out of your control. When you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business, so much of it is in your control,
right?
To a degree. I often say that parenting. I wrote a book called "Positive Thinking is for Sissies," and I often say, parenting is not for sissies. And being an entrepreneur and having your own business is kind of like having your own kid.
It is.
And it's not for sissies either. It really takes a warrior spirit and a certain mindset to own that business and take it where you want it to go.
Right. I love that analogy because it is. And when you're an entrepreneur, when you create something, it's your baby. I mean,
Totally.
it's your baby. And if somebody comes in and tells you what you're doing wrong, and sometimes you're like, well, wait a minute, this is what I want to do, which is all great. It's definitely all great. We've been talking a lot about, like you said, the integrity, having your integrity, really, having that respect of your clients and how you work with your clients. We also talked a bit yesterday about pattern awareness, and again, self-mastery. And so there's always a different take on that. If you could talk a little bit about more on how you coach your clients around that mastery.
Well, self-awareness is a big deal, right? Because so much of what we do is unconscious. And so much of how we react to the world and to other people is unconscious. And we don't notice it until we can step out of it. And that's where a good coach comes in who understands that and can point out your unconscious behaviors. Because most of us are just moving through this life unconsciously, and we think we're conscious. But as an example, how many times have you walked around the house looking for the sunglasses that were on top of your head?
Right.
or your car keys? Or how many times have you passed the exit of your freeway? Or pulled into your driveway and you're thinking to yourself, gee, I don't even remember the trip home. How did I get here? Well, what the heck was driving the car? Your subconscious programming was driving the car while your conscious mind was chatting or listening. I don't recommend it, or texting, or listening to the radio or whatever. So just that alone can be an eye opener for a lot of people, just how unconscious they are, but unconscious in terms of your reactions to people versus your response. And there's a big difference there. Mastery is a big deal. And I think it's a real big deal right now because the world is in chaos. The world is in crisis. And if you own a business, you don't know what to invest in. You don't know if crazy man Putin's going to hit the nuclear button. There's just so much concern. You turn on the news and it can be really, really overwhelming. A master, and I'm really speaking from more of a martial arts kind of background, a master stays centered in the midst of chaos. And that's the difference between a master and somebody who's behaving masterfully or someone who's, hasn't reached that level yet of being able to stay centered, to stay on balance in the midst of crisis or chaos or movement. And when the world is trying to push you one way or pull you another, a master at jujitsu is not going to get thrown off balance. The white belt will. The white belt will fall and get hurt. The green belt will, fall and maybe not get hurt because they've learned how to fall. But the master's not going to fall. They move differently. A master moves differently than even a black belt, because not every black belt is a master. And black belts move differently than a white belt. But it's the same in business, right? The white belt in business is going to move their business, move and handle their daily routine in a different way than a black belt, a business black belt will. And a true master is going to be that much better than just the black belt in business. So mastery, self-mastery, it's a huge conversation. It's just what part of it do you want to pick out, and work on. And I don't know if any of us, some of us do maybe, but any of us ever reached the level of mastery that I'm referring to here, but we can certainly lean into it. We can certainly work on that, I'll give you an example. I was coaching a very well-respected female entrepreneur in business and a highly respected speaker. And she was launching her business. And she's just like gung-ho, business. But part of her business was teaching 4 pillars and part of that was being healthy. She was getting overweight. And so, at one point I'm coaching her and I'm saying, listen, part of doing business, part of your business and being successful at what you do is going to the gym for you. That's part of your business, because you can't run your business if you're not taking mind, body, spirit, right? If you're not taking care of your body, if you're taking care of your body and you're being healthy, it's not about losing weight. It's about being healthy.
Right.
So mastery is not about doing business, and to get to a level of success. It's about being successful and being something else while you're doing whatever it is you do. So my coaching runs on 2 tracks, doing and being. And being, really speaks to mastery. Are you being masterful? Are you being sloppy? Are you being on balance? Or are you being pulled and pushed and off balance everywhere you turn? Are you being centered? Are you able to focus by virtue of who you're being, not what you're doing? So we have to remember that we're human beings. We're not human doings. And
I'm guilty of it. And I'm definitely guilty of
we
that.
all are.
And not taking care of myself because I was focused on taking care of the business and taking care of everybody else around me. And I wasn't taking care of myself. And guess what? I came to a crash.
Yeah.
I crashed. I was out, I was speaking, again, taking care of business. I wasn't eating healthy. And again, that was unlike me to not eat healthy, but I wasn't. And because I was just on a constant go, I have to do this. I got to build a business, people are relying on me. And I came crashing down. I lost my voice for over 6 months. So, and
over 6 months. That's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy. 6 months. They're like laryngitis. Nope. It's this. So I finally get it back. But now it's about the health. I don't miss that. That is so important. And believe it or not, the business thrived while I was sick, but it was even better coming back from that.
Yeah. The business is an extension of you. Right. Just like a martial artist with a weapon. The weapon is not the danger. A weapon is an extension of the person holding it. A business is the same way. So many people don't realize how just managing your blood sugar. You're on the set of Cobra Kai. I even had this conversation with William Zabka, a very good friend of mine. And the demands on him on Cobra Kai while they're filming for those 3 or 4 months is crazy. hours or 16 hours a day. Then you got to learn more lines for the next day. Where do you get sleep? Sleep is important. The old days of, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or I only need 4 hours of sleep. That argument's over, people. I don't care about type A personality entrepreneurs out there. That argument is over. Just the research on sleep, of 75 years of research on sleep, is definitive. Your body needs 8 hours of sleep, period. Your brain needs it. You need it. And if you're not getting it, you're effectively walking through the next day drunk, in a sense. Your cognitive levels drop. That research is in. So don't take it from me. Go look at it. But so sleep and eating, blood sugar, managing your blood sugar levels. So much of it is managing your energy. When you're on a set like that, but so much of it is managing your energy if you're an entrepreneur too, because it takes a lot of mental and physical energy.
It takes a lot of mental energy. And then if you're out there and this week, for example, we were invited to, she's our attorney, our business attorney, and she's also become a good friend, and she was doing an open house. And so I was like, oh, I'd really like to be there for her, to support her. And then we set this up for this whole week, and it was like, oh, okay, can we do this? How can we do both? And so then she came back and said, well, my lake house is available. Done. I'm there. Okay.
Right.
So we came up here, but I wanted to be here to support hers, to support our network. But at the same time, I was already planning and preparing. I'll make sure I eat healthy. There's going to be long days. So because we're going to be going every day this week for a long day. So I want to make sure that we're healthy. And like I said, after having that attack several years ago, I make sure that I'm preventing everything from happening, because I don't want to lose my momentum in what we do in the business. I mean,
it's such a funny thing, because that's the entrepreneurial mindset and spirit, right? You just got to do.
Not do it, right?
You ever notice, like, when you go on vacation and you walk away from your business, like, you get more business while you're away?
Yeah, right.
Have you ever noticed that?
You're not there.
It's like you're not putting that crazy energy into your business. Your energy is like, hey, your business is like, hey, I'll do this by myself. I don't need you. Let's just, and you walk away and you get more clients, you get more business, you get more money. It's so weird.
And my family had a business. They had a restaurant for a lot of years. And we used to tell my father that we had more business when he wasn't working. So we would always give him the day off. Well, he wasn't complaining about that. He'd go golfing, of course, but we'd say, no, you got to go. Like, we have more business when you're not here.
My wife is in the corporate world, and it's, we'll go on vacation and she'll look at her emails, of course, she can't stop. And it's like, oh, I got 3 more groups today. Well, maybe we should go on vacation more often,
So I just want to share with everybody, because I think Hollywood is glamorous, and you mentioned working the 16-hour days. Share a little bit about that and how you manage yourself working through those days for yourself. And how you stay healthy.
It's hard. It can really wear on you, and there's a lot of demands. So again, it really goes back to managing your energy and understanding the different types of energy that we have as human beings: physical, intellectual, right? Emotional energy. And you can have an emotional outburst and an emotional reaction to something and expend a lot more energy than you would going to run 5 miles. How many times have you sat behind your desk and been working all day, and at the end of the day, you got nothing left? You're just done. You have to go to bed. You have to go recharge.
Done.
You don't even have the energy to go to a movie, but you didn't do anything physical. So you were using your intellectual energy, or maybe your emotional energy. It's understanding these things that leads to mastery. The master begins to learn about these things and and then incorporate them into who they're being and how they're being in the world. Because how you're being and who you're being is going to determine how well you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you know? So it's, as an actor or an entrepreneur or a parent, you know, it's just really, really important that you understand you need to eat something. I coach so many people that are having short-term memory loss, inability to focus and concentrate, especially in the later afternoons. And, you know, and they lose their energy. And so I asked them, well, tell me about your typical day. What do you eat? Oh, I don't eat. Well, that's your first mistake. Your body needs food. You know, I've coached a lot of high-level athletes. Nutrition is very, very important. And understanding your blood sugar drops. When your blood sugar drops, you go into a state of hypnosis.
Yeah.
You go into environmental hypnosis. That's why your inability to concentrate goes out the window. You can't focus. You can't concentrate. Your short-term memory goes out because, and by the way, any negative stuff you got going on, negative emotions, depression, anger, whatever, those things are heightened. And I use the example a lot of how I could be talking with my hands. And if I'm in a normal state, I've eaten a little bit of food, some protein, keeping my blood sugar. I know how to manage my blood sugar where it needs to be at the level it needs to be, not down here, not dropping out. And I spill a glass of water while I'm talking with my hands. Well, what would I do? I'd go get another glass of water and probably a towel and clean it up.
Right.
But if I'm in a blood sugar drop and I spill that same glass of water, I'm like, oh my God, it's the biggest deal in the world. You know, and you go crazy. You have an emotional reaction to something that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Because you're in a blood sugar drop and because you're in a state of hypersuggestibility, hyper-suggestible to the world and the environment, you know. God forbid you go turn on the news and you're in a blood sugar drop. Right?
You're right about the eating. And that was one thing, because I started working with the naturopathic doctor in Orange County, and Dr. Charlie. And that's what he said. He's like, you don't eat enough. Like you have to, like, you know, put nutrients in your body. You don't eat enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he taught me that.
And if you're behind a desk all day or you're at the computer, you got to get up and move.
Yeah.
You got to take these breaks every hour. And then you also have to take mental breaks, what I call, you know, settling into the zone. You have to just turn the lights off for a second. Because if I leave these lights on all day long, the bulb's going to be really, really hot.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be burn out sooner than it's going to, you know, run out its lifespan, so to speak. You know, the same thing with your brain. Take a mental break and just do nothing and just be. Wait. And the mind says, wait, I got too much to do. No, just be still. Just be still. Just don't think of anything. Don't do anything. Just be. Let yourself be. And the other part of the mind's going, no, but this didn't get done. I don't have time for this. No, you don't have time not to do it. I'm telling you. So, you know, these are a lot of the things. I'll tell you a real quick story. I was coaching again, another high-level female entrepreneur who had moved to Laguna Beach. And I'm taking this group that I'm coaching. I have a coaching program called Pivot, 360-degree empowerment training for entrepreneurs. 360 degrees, whole integrity, right? And I'm teaching them how to get into the zone, how to be present, how to just be mindful, and how to let everything else go. And it only takes a few minutes, and I'm guiding them through this process, because you can create, most athletes would love to know this, but you can create the zone on purpose. It doesn't have to just happen by accident. And I'm creating it on purpose for these entrepreneurs, and she starts to cry. And I really cry. And I'm like, why? What's going on? Why are you crying? And she said, because 6 months ago, I moved to Laguna so I could hear the ocean. And this is the first time that I've heard the ocean.
Oh.
She was like, oh my God, I'm crazy. You know, oh my God, I moved here for this and I've been missing it this whole time, because the mind deletes a whole lot of information when you're not present.
Mm-hmm.
The mind is jumping from the past to the future all the time.
Right.
This didn't get done. This needs to get done. Why did this happen? Why this has to happen? The mind's, and very, very rarely, unless you're masterful, unless you're intentionally being more masterful, you can bring the mind to the present moment. And you might even hear what your client said to you, instead of your mind racing while your client is talking, your mind racing ahead to what you want to say, instead of listening to what they're saying. These things are so important. And that's why I think coaching for people who don't understand this, or for anyone else, and people get a coach that does and learn about it, be more masterful, and you'll be more successful.
What's something today that you can give our community, a tool, a suggestion for them to do something masterful each day? I mean, you talked about getting up, taking a break, taking a walk. What, like, first thing in the morning when they get up, what should they do to set their intention right for the day?
That's awesome. Yeah. Set your intention for the day. That's the first thing. And, and the second thing, I'll tell you what, don't go rushing to your emails to look at someone else's agenda. What's, your email list and your social media and everything, if you're an entrepreneur, that's just a database of other people's agendas and other people's complaints and other things that they need to get done. No, do not do that. Own your morning. Champions start strong and finish stronger. If you want to start your day strong, don't start it off on someone else's agenda. Own your morning and set your intention. Do some yoga, do some deep breathing, do some mindful training, stretch, work out, take a walk, get outside, and be present. Be present. This moment will never come again.
I guess I passed that test because I do get up every morning at 5.
Yeah.
I go to the gym. I mean, it's a variety of what I do, and come back and I'll just sit with it or meditate. And then I'll open the emails.
Then you're doing it right.
And see what I have to do for the day.
You have no idea how many people are not owning their morning. They're letting other people's agendas own their morning and own them,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to start strong and finish stronger. Like I said, that's what champions do. And it's really important. And by the way, I think as part of the being in this community, go to my website, senseironthomas.com/shop, and go to my recording on settling into the zone. Exactly what we're talking about here, getting present, settling into the zone. And it's free. Just type in at checkout I think I set the
coupon code is free. So I put it in the
coupon code is free.
Over on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yeah.
So settling into the zone, free mindfulness recording. And again, at the checkout, use coupon code free.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the link is in there. And we will follow up with everybody afterwards as well to share the link with them.
Yeah, good.
So what parting words do you have for our community today in terms of being masterful?
I think understanding the importance of importance. What's important? Now, when I'm coaching, entrepreneurs, it's always about, this age-old question of why. What's your why? But it really goes deeper than that. That's surface level stuff right there. That's greenbelt stuff. What's your why? Get into really your values and understand what's important. And here's the thing. Here's what I do. I coach entrepreneurs on not only understanding what's important to you as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, but what's important to your client, your clientele, your customer, what's important to them, and getting that feedback, right? And then I have them do, and then there's two more components to that. What's important to your employees? What do they value? What's important to them? And then I have this imaginary process of, let's just say that your business is its own entity, because it is, and it could talk, it could speak to you. Well, what's important to your business? And when you start to clarify what's important to you, because we only take action on what's important to us.
Right.
But your customer only takes action on what's important to them too, right? So like I done a lot of writing and screenwriting and stuff. So what's important to me about taking my laptop and going into a coffee shop? Atmosphere. If your coffee shop is got plain ugly walls and flooring and that's ugly and dirty and white tile, I'm leaving. For me, I have to, it's got to have some, maybe some background music, some smooth jazz or some coffee house music, right? For me to sit down, it's got to smell good. It's just got to be comfortable and inviting, or I'm not going to be productive in my work. And by the way, you ought to set your office up that way too. And by the way, it's probably really important to your employees that your environment, that their working environment is comfortable and cozy and soothing too. Just ask them if you don't believe me. So, you know, the importance of importance is really important. You know what I'm saying? And I'll coach people on, I'll uncover some unconscious things that they didn't even know were important to them. So you can say, well, what's important to me in running my business? Great. What else? Great. What else? Great. What else is important? So if you had all of these things, that would be good for you, right? Well, what would cause you to walk away? What would have to happen for you to walk away from your business? Well, what do you mean? No, you tell me. What would have to happen for you to walk away from your business? And that's digging into the subconscious. And the subconscious might pull up something like, well, my business partner, I'm making this up. My business partner would have to steal from me or lie to me, or, you know, that would cause you to walk away, right? Oh, so loyalty is important, so betrayal. That's what it's all about. It's about betrayal, right? So yeah, so loyalty is important. Oh, well, let's put that down. You know, and you start to uncover some things that, God, you didn't really understand that how important those things were. And then, you know, if you're in a relationship, if people, what's important to each person, if what they value isn't getting met, how well is that relationship going to be? You know, and you're in a relationship. You're in a relationship with your business. You're in a relationship with your customers. You're in a relationship with your employees. It's about relationships. If the one thing you don't walk away from today with this, I don't care what business you're doing. Your business is the people business. That's the business. That's the heart of it. And if you don't understand people, and if you don't, and by the way, I'm talking about understanding yourself as well, but you are a person, you know, if you don't understand these things and the relationship part of it, then your business's chances of it being successful are not very good. If money is at the top of your importance list and values list, you know, then you'll do anything to get it. And there goes that integrity that we were talking about. Integrity goes right out the window. Money should never be at the very top, but for so many entrepreneurs, it is. That's why I started a business, because I want to make a lot of money. That's not the reason to be.
Okay, but what is your passion? What is your vision? Because you're going to work harder for that passion, and you're going to work harder for that vision than you are going to for $1.
Correct.
For $1, that's there. So absolutely. And that leads into, I mean, because we've been talking about patterns and self-awareness. And again, understanding yourself, understanding personality traits as well. So that all fits into there. So Brad, what is something that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you today?
How do I feel about the political landscape of America? No, no. Listen, I think I kind of cut to it with importance, the importance of it being important. I think it's just, you know, and a coach, I could obviously, if we had more time, dig that in for you, and help people realize that. How much
time do you need? I can give you 10 minutes and cut into our next speaker.
Well, I'll be real quick.
I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, no, I could go on all day.
Powerful, and I think you are giving so much of yourself and pouring into our community what it is that they need to do. So if there's an exercise or something that you can do, I could definitely push our next speaker a couple of minutes. If you need another 10 minutes, I'd be happy to go there.
Okay, so, well, here's what you should have asked me. Give me an example of you working with a client and incorporating some of the stuff I've talked about today. So let me give you a good example that comes to my mind real fast. And it was a dentist. And this dentist, I coached him, and his business was falling apart. He was looking for other dentists to come in and rent the space from him so he could only be there like 3 days a week because he was burnt out. Burnout is a big deal for entrepreneurs, right? Just like it is for athletes, it's just like it is for actors. A lot of people get burnt out. What do you do when you're burnt out, right? And so he came to me, I coached him, and he was ready to retire from dentistry. But that was only part of him. The other part of him wanted a thriving dentistry business. He loved it. He was a people person. I let him understand that you're a people person. You love people. And so I coached him on a lot of what we're talking about today. First of all, what's important to you? And again, it was people, it was success, having the money and the income to run his dentist office. But he'd lost his passion. He was burnt out. And I said, well, I look around your office, and what's important to your customer? What do you think? A person coming in. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm going to have somebody drilling on my teeth, I'm going to look for the best, the most respected. I'm going to look for certificates on the wall. I want to know you know what you're doing before you stick a metal drill in my mouth. So what's important to customer? Well, he said, that they need to know that I'm good. Yeah, good. What else? Well, we discovered that probably the number one thing for a patient, the number one important thing for them, their number one value was comfort. They need to walk in your office and be comfortable with you, with your office, with your staff, and the environment. Here we go again. I had him paint his walls, believe it or not, because it was so cold and so uninviting and so, plain. And I had him put in earth tones, he changed the flooring up when you walked in and you felt immediately, when I walked in, it was very cold and uninviting. When I got done with him, there was wood floors and the walls were colorful, and he changed it up. And then I had him, we discovered all these important things to his customer. And I had him, as we listed it out, how can we fulfill that for them? How can we make sure that they're good? And one of the things that you don't just sit them in a chair, lean them back and start talking to them about their dental problem. And that's what every dentist does. They don't know any different. They don't teach in dental school what I'm talking about, how to build rapport, how to maintain rapport with your customers on a subconscious level, not just a conscious level, and how to fulfill their needs and their values. They just teach you how to fix their teeth, or in some cases screw it up because you're not that good of a dentist, because I had that happen when I was a kid. So what he does instead now is I coached him, and he's a people person, so he loves this. He brings them back to another part of his office and sits them down in a chair one-on-one with no dental mask over his face, except when COVID maybe. But and in a comfortable environment, offers them some lemonade or some coffee or whatever, and talks to them about their concerns about their mouth and their teeth. And then he moves them into the chair. And he gets them comfortable. And so I went through this whole process with him. Guess what happened to his business?
Probably tripled.
Exactly. He didn't have to rent out anymore. He could take his Fridays off. He could work 4 days a week. He had so much business, he didn't know what to do with all the customers, right? He had to, if I remember right, I think he told me he had to start referring some because he couldn't handle it all. And he got fired up again. His burnout went away. He got impassioned again because he changed who he was, and who his business was, and how his business was doing the doingness of dentistry. It was completely different, and it changed everything for him, his staff, and his customers. So
and it sounds like he was more of a relationship individual. So, talking to somebody laying there with something in their mouth wasn't fulfilling him either. So that's a great story. Great story. Yeah. Who is your ideal client that you coach?
I love coaching entrepreneurs because it's one mindset, right?
Okay.
And I love coaching athletes. It's the same thing, but a little bit different for athletes because I've been an athlete all my life, and I
Right.
love coaching that type of
Yeah.
that
I
type
love,
of
I love
person.
working with athletes as well. I love
Yeah,
working with people who are very creative
yeah,
and, and just to see them to bring out all of the gifts that they have and how we can package them, put them together. And yeah, that's what
yeah.
thrills me.
Athletes is fun for me because if you unless you're have the money for a sports psychologist, which a lot of high school athletes or college athletes don't, or they don't even really understand the importance of it. Here we go again about importance. High school athletes who have a lot of potential don't understand the importance of mindset.
Right.
It's not until they get into the pros, but by that time it's too late. You may never get into the pros
In high
if you
school. Right.
if you don't start understanding that it's at your level, it's 90% mental,
Mm-hmm.
and even handling burnout and everything. So you can't afford a sports psychologist. Where do you go? A book. So I really enjoy getting into doing a lot of mindset training for athletes and sensitivity training for them,
Okay.
or entrepreneurs as well. But sensitivity training meaning uh, how your body relates to your environment. In other words, like in martial arts, we did a lot of sparring blindfolded, so
Right.
we feel. Some of the best judo martial artists in the world are blind because they feel everything you do. They don't look at it because your eyes can trick you, right? And so I started incorporating some of that stuff with like baseball players. The guy's going to throw the pitch. It's going to be a very soft, we use soft ball, so you don't worry about getting hit. He's going to throw the pitch, and as soon as you see the pitch leave his hand, you close your eyes, and now you try to hit the ball. And that kind of sensitivity awareness training really, number one, it eliminates burnout, because the way to get out of burnout is to be creative and to do something new. And so they're training something new, it brings out another part of them and takes their game to another level in a way that you wouldn't think. So,
And what you do and what you just expressed and shared would be really good for an entrepreneur selling, because
yes,
90% of your time selling should be listening,
yeah,
and
and
what you
hearing,
shared, right? The same thing. They're at bat, close your eyes and just swing for the ball when you're ready.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You could use a lot of things that I'm talking about with athletes or actors or whoever. Entrepreneurs can definitely. It's the same thing.
Very, very, very powerful.